Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 with my continued look at Hearts of Iron 4's Black Ice, or Black Ice for Hearts of Iron 4. I guess that may be the better way. And if you haven't already, I know I say this all the time, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the videos. Please comment on the videos, even just saying hi. You don't know how much that helps the YouTube algorithms. I'd love to break out of my low position here. I've gotten some really good feedback. One of them is if I do more comedy within it. I don't think I can do comedy well enough to make it work right. But I definitely want feedback, that is for sure. I don't know. Love to have you recommend it to people.
Move out.
Recommend my channel, my videos. This video, it certainly helps. And if you're watching on YouTube right now, you can hit that like button. That helps those of you live. If you are watching on Twitch, all 12 of you, if you haven't already, you can hit the follow button. That's also very nice. Okay, so we've got the multi-role hurricane, which I think we're going to switch production over to now. Okay. Medium bomber. Quantum bombers. Naval bomber. Okay, that's still too soon, so we're looking up here. I think I may want to do... Okay, that's too... Well, I guess we'll put this into production here. Okay, now let's come over here and look at... To a point, a lot of this stuff I've just simply wanted more of. So I've been doing... Well, we're only 3 aircraft a month. Okay, that's cast. Now I'm looking for fighter. Let's see. Let's come over to here, multi-role, which is a reasonable hit to it. Field uniforms. Guess we should improve the field uniforms. I think we've caught up on that production there. 1937. And okay, let's do light artillery improvement. Just smart 2 artillery for light caliber weapons. I guess good. Maybe artillery is, yeah, heavy artillery. Yeah, I guess it's medium, so get that going. Now, new armored cars. Okay, is that Humber Scout's car? Is that what we're looking at, I guess? Oh, the Morris. Oh, it's the Morris here. I don't know. I sort of like the Rolls-Royce Scout cars. I guess these will get rid of the Austin Tilly to go to. Is it the Humber Scout's car? I gotta look that up. Or I clicked the wrong one. Yeah, it's the Humber Scout car, which is an armored Scout car, which may mean slowing up production, but we will see. Okay. Not too bad. Arno's moved over. Sure thing, Tundra Sheep. I should have Eric make a HOI IV mod that adds me. No, you shouldn't. You don't need to be added to HOI IV Toy Jet. Okay, Hawker Hurricane, Splendid Machine. Yeah, they were pretty good. I don't know the specific models. Okay, what might we want to do over here? Okay. I know we've been using a lot of our command power to help out Republicans, and I think we will do that a bit more. We'll coordinate on these. Yeah, we'll spend this here because we look at the. I don't know if the Republicans are just doomed. But let's do what we can. And we'll wait till we get to 200, which will be very soon. Just trying to keep it a little extra political power. Artillery workshops, good. Don't think we need to do synthetic. Refineries, I just don't think we do. Coastal land forts, I don't know that that's overly useful. This construction. Yeah, we could do this. Hong Kong will be doomed, though we might very well do a national focus or something that improves landward defenses there. Singapore, if we could get proper landward defenses to dig this in here, not just coastal sides, but that could be really good. Electric motor hoist and convoy sailing. We might be able to hold out in a place like Singapore. Might, I say. Okay, so this one is either here or here. So we're probably going to come here. 37 avionics. Signals intelligence. Yeah, I think we're staying away from most of that stuff over there. Power gain, I don't know. Do that. And down here with naval technologies. Okay, radar, well, no, I think we have to do some of the other technologies first. Where was the convoy? Okay, convoy doctrine here. Convoy sailing, subdetection. would say they were decisive battle. When you make me an exclusionary choice, I'm always reluctant to take it because I don't know enough about some of these. Okay, anti-submarine tactics. That sounds like good. I'll do that one. Good one for Britain, that is. Romans still limited to old Europe and Northern Africa, I think, but yeah, a lot of countries don't. Oh, what are we talking about? Yeah, Persia. What do you think holds the world record rated conquering country places? Was it the Spanish, British, Germans, Vikings, Mongols? Interesting topic. Well, Germans definitely not, because almost functionally all of what is the Soviet Union, but also China, down into Persia. If you count the Mughals, which is a corruption of Mongols, but not sort of direct rule, but the Mughal Empire down into India. And they sort of got a bit into Vietnam. They couldn't get into China. I'd say the Mongols are definitely the biggest conquerors here. I know they were pushing into some of these areas down here. The Spaniards, well, Brazil is just because sort of the line was drawn. Right here, as you can sort of see between the, this half of the world was upward to right about here. So from here to here was Portugal, and over here to like the Philippines, here was, Spain's part of the world, according to, I forget which Pope declaration that split up the non-European part of the world. And if you, instead of call them Spaniards, but call them Habsburgs, you get the Habsburg. Austrian, Netherlands, and other places. You got a lot of conquests there. So Spain is definitely in the running. Now, the Vikings, even if you throw in the Normans, which are, of course, Norsemen, the Norman conquest, they only get really sort of Normandy, bits and pieces of France, and, of course, England with... when do you flip over from being Norman conquest to being, the British and, taking Wales? But definitely not Scotland, definitely not at least most of Ireland. The Normans got little principalities down in, like Sicily, Sardinia, and, little things around here. The Vikings, get the Danelaw, some islands, Dublin, of course, Scandinavia. Yeah, and sure, their raiders, were coming along some of the Russian rivers and down to Constantinople, but not really great conquerors. So Vikings are definitely out from that list. Yeah, Germans are just sort of locally here with, a few silly colonies around. Now, the British, we see the British Raj here, but realize probably at least a third or more of what we're looking at here, this picture, is not controlled by the British. Now, their local control, the Rajas. Now, Britain can conquer any one of them because it has enough military power to come in and do it. But if it tries to do that, other ones will revolt, and I don't think Britain can hold India without... So this is what, and I know he hasn't been around for a while. I don't know if he's just busy with doing other things or gotten tired, but Azads is really cool to talk to. Very, very anti-British. He's Indian, if you don't know. I know a few of you know him. But Britain cannot hold India without India's cooperation, because even when you have the Indian Mutiny that's put down, there's still a lot of... India was and is a fractured society. And obviously you see today it's broken up into 3 countries, Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. So you have various competing powers. Some areas are Muslim states, majority Muslims. Some areas are Muslim rules over Hindu majority areas. I don't know if there's any majority Muslim areas that are ruled over by Hindus. There might be. I don't know. And then there's a lot of various cultural groups within India. Sometimes they're expressed also as religious groups, sort of like the Sikhs. And some of these groups, even though they fought England bitterly, they sort of kind of came to realize that if the British were to go away, their little group, their little whatever it is, would get overrun by somebody else. So it wasn't a choice of, hey, happiness and wondrousness or British oppression. Which do we want to do? It was sort of like, oh, British oppression or some other group's oppression, which might be a hell of a lot worse. So Britain was definitely, you definitely had the consent of the government of India of the majority of the situation. They saw that Britain was valuable. Now, of course, we have during this time Gandhi pushing his stuff. Gandhi is a controversial figure. So, and he is with me. He's probably the best thing that happens to India, in that because of Gandhi, it keeps it from being too much of a violent revolt. It gets the British out without, again, with all that violence, and without a lot of sectarian violence. Once you do the Pakistan-India split, and there's tens of thousands, if not more, people killed in that split. Torstelius. Hello. Yeah, thanks, Martek. That is the treaty I was talking about that divides the world between Spain and Portugal. And we're talking just people massacred, not soldiers fighting for control of territory, which I put in 2 different categories of human slaughter. But so, yeah, he's probably the best thing that happens to India, but still he's controversial because I still think Britain had more to offer India before it quits. But you definitely with the rise of the Soviet Union, and it's not just nationalism, it's more nationalism as well as other ideologies, but Soviet Union just wanting to weaken the West, is willing to give arms to people who want to weaken the West after World War II. That's when Stalin starts really getting his anti-Western program going. So yeah, in a way this has conquered, the British Raj. In a way it's not, in the sense that, meaning that there's big chunks of areas in this that are, there's no British, any sort of governance. Now, if they there's British business going on, so that you may find British businessmen wandering around, and if they're being slaughtered in the streets or something, the British Army will show up. Yes. And if they sort of politically, by this time period, want to go fight either another rival Raja or go fight the British or go fight some militarily, the British Army will show up, but it's not all direct rule. You look at Canada for, territorial gain. One, it's not this big, just because of the map projection, going up towards the polar regions particularly. And of course, it's like 20, 24 miles or something like that, 40 miles, I don't know, that 90% of or 80% of Canadians live within or next from the American border, so it covers a lot of this stuff down here. But now there's definitely a lot of land mass, especially South Africa, is British controlled, even though they sort of have somewhat internal rule, and Egypt here is basically British controlled. So Britain's a major player on that. Now, what ruling family ruled most of the world at any one time? That would be an interesting question. And I know the answer to it. Gandhi participated in the Boer War, if I remember that occurred in South Africa. No, I think he's after the Boer War. That was around 1900. I don't think he's that old. He definitely was in South Africa. He definitely, the apartheid. See, my understanding is Gandhi was a racist by modern day standards, but he objected to be treating as a second-class citizen or whatever compared to whites with the apartheid rules in South Africa at the time. Because, unlike British-run Africa, Rhodesia, wherever, there really wasn't an apartheid. There was a class system, which is slightly different. And sure, there's white-only clubs and white-only this, but it wasn't a strict apartheid like we see. It's sort of like if you have a first-class train ticket and you're behaving yourself in Rhodesia. This, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but, in the Rhodesian Federation, which is, this whole area here, Botswana is not part of it, but hardly anybody in Botswana, and most of it, I think, is down along here. But all this, the Rhodesian Federation up and through here. My understanding is if you bought a first-class ticket, you can ride in a first-class carriage. So if you're and you're behaving yourself. So if you're a black African or an Arab or whatever, you buy a first-class ticket, you can ride in a first-class carriage. And the people that are climbing on the roofs and which they still do to this day, of trains in like Sudan, I don't know that they're paying for any ticket or holding onto the sides for hours and days at a time. These trains, you see these people moving on them. You can be white or you can be black and do that. But where in South Africa, it's a rigid sort of racial caste system. You can't be, because I think that's one of the things that pissed Gandhi off, is he bought a first-class ticket or something and they threw him out of the first-class compartment of the railways. The South Africans have a real sort of apartheid system where it's more of a class system within Britain. This again is my understanding, and I'm sure there's discrimination. I'm not saying there wasn't. I'm sure there was racism. I know there was racism, but it was really Britain trying to uplift. Now often they may have thought of them as lesser peoples that they were trying to uplift, and some of that lesser element very well may be racial and not just cultural. But like I say, they did acknowledge, especially at this time, and you can see it in this stuff, well-educated people from Africa, from, North Africa, Arabia, Asia, well-educated, enculturated, shall we say, to the Anglo system enough, this is why I say behave well enough, that they could ride in, so these local elites from wherever, they were welcome to, in sort of public spaces. Now, again, there were private social clubs that I know were segregated on race. But in a lot of the public things, Britain was not looking to be legally racist. I'm not saying that the individuals weren't, but they weren't looking to be that way. Where South Africa was looking to be racist based on legalities and stuff. So that's, again, my understanding what's going on here with it. So the ruling family that ruled most of the world at any one moment not like at different times. We can see the Habsburgs when they, have both the Spanish and the Austrian thrones, if you'll call it, owning all of Latin America, down here, the Spanish Empire that had been conquered. Yeah, that's pretty big, but there's owning both or controlling both Windsor. Well, sort of pre-Windsor. Check. I don't know, not Muhammad. The grandchildren of Queen Victoria, Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, the grandchildren I remember they named themselves, after World War I or so, ruled most of the world and most of the world's population. You had George in England. You had Wilhelm in Germany and the German Empire. And you had Nicky, the Nicky and Willie telegrams, Nicholas II in Moscow. So at the beginning of World War I, and so these are all grandchildren of the same grandmother. And you can look at George and Nicholas particularly. You see the family resemblance. They look almost like brothers. So these three cousins, and Wilhelm is also one of the three cousins. So the German Empire, holds Germany, okay. And, Tanganyika, Southwest Africa, Togoland and Cameroon over here. Oh, yeah, and, this little this little thing here and a few islands. Okay, so they control that. And then the Russian Empire, which, the Baltic states, Finland are controlled, Poland's controlled, and basically this sort of Soviet Union border out to here is controlled by the Russian Empire. And then, of course, the British Empire, which is still, at this, 1937, is still controlled by that. So, so you have India, Australia, New Zealand, Malaya and other colonies around, and all of the British Empire. So with the populations of India and Russia and all of that, the greatest number of human people, I do believe, I don't know that we have a good census calculation, because there were a lot of people in China, but not as much as there is today. They couldn't feed that many. And so, but all the Indian population, the British Empire, sure, this part was still Ottoman, but, ruling in Egypt. There's lots of people living in Nigeria. There's lots of people living in Egypt that were under the British rule of one degree or another. So, didn't have capable grandchildren. Well, this is, the old statement is I think it was Willie was saying, if Grandmama were only alive, she wouldn't allow this to happen, World War I, Nicky and Willie and whatnot. Because Nicholas and Wilhelm were trying to sort of negotiate between themselves to get this thing sort of solved, World War I. But if Grandmama were only alive, she wouldn't let World War I happen. So Queen Victoria's grandchildren directly ruled the greatest proportion of landmass and population to be alive at any one time. Three different political structures, obviously. But that was the family that ruled the most of humanity at any one time. Okay, I'm crazy. He was the second one. He was born in, I'm not quite, family business out of control. It was after World War I started, they renamed themselves to the Windsors. Okay, so he was in the second one, World War. Okay. Tundra sheep. I did not know that, as you can tell. So that's just an interesting fact, which shows you that personal rule can not, not always work out and can collapse. fine. See ya. I don't quite get the joke. Yeah, oh yeah, no, Winston Churchill was, as a journalist who was captured by the Boers and then had a sort of a well heralded escape out to get out. Churchill, he was around, and earlier he was involved in one of the wars along the British frontier edge, I think up over in here somewhere. Wrote a book about it. Oh yeah, no, Churchill did a lot of things. Oh, for sure. Yeah, something capitulated out here. I don't know. State of, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Maybe it was, it was up here. Okay. Great Hong Kong Typhoon. They seem to like having those out there. We still have Neville Chamberlain as, what is his job? Okay, economic minister. Well, maybe we should just go with Supermarine because cost of fighter production is down, flying and reliability is up. I don't know. Close support interceptors. Yeah, we'll go with Supermarine. Just sort of easy. Yes, absolutely, Tundra. It gave Britain its modern professional army that definitely starts out World War One, but eventually it's the what's his name? What Kitchener's Kitchener's army, the volunteer army that calls up the sort of the more mass army. Yeah, the French were definitely. I I I collect things, but as more digital age, I'm collecting photos and a series of, I don't know, like 6 photos from like just before World War One or early World War One that was an early color process. So these aren't colorized photos. It's a very early, and it's so somebody's retouched some of the stuff, yes, but it shows how bright the French uniforms were. So yeah, they definitely started with that. Now, of course, the war goes on, and they go to their sort of blue, powder blue, I think is their base color. Well, Madrid looks like holding out here. They're doing fair right now, I would say, the Republicans. Okay, subject may soon Ireland. Oh, well, I don't think there's much we can do about. Yeah. Ireland definitely was under a level of dominion. Actually, Britain had access to a port, I believe, here in Cork. And maybe one other that they could use somewhere that, naval access, to it. And they used it throughout World War II. And a few other Anglo-Irish trade agreements that might still sort of in the HOI IV tradition keep it as a dominion, but I'm not going to fight this. I'm not going to rely upon Ireland to be anything significant to me in the war. So in modern game terms, they should give us docking rights. War scores up a little bit. Base stability. Research speed. Well, stability's gone down a bit. Okay, we'll fund the League of Nations. Anti-air. I guess that'll be it. Commonwealth is diminished. Okay. A nation has increased its independence from us, right? That would be Ireland, I'm presuming. Okay. Well, we're no longer getting as good a look in there. Oh well. Yeah, we're low manpower. Now, do we have any intel officers? We do. And what I have, see one out here, he's 80%. No, I think we need to recruit another agent. To do this right. We don't want to stop the network, I don't think. Okay, psychological warfare. I need my... What gets me more agents? This... It's already done. Now these have different levels. We can't do that yet. This is another operative slot. Okay. We'll do this one, I guess. 10 factories to get that built. Don't like taking away the factories, but oh well. See if we can steal the German ciphers. Well, I'm trying to keep the episode short, but the live stream will keep going, so you don't have to go anywhere if you're here live. But those watching later, thanks so much. You don't know how much I value all those, especially that make it all the way through the video. So see you next time for more Hearts of